on, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Waiting. I'm joined here today by my co-host, my partner in crime, Sugar Ray. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, thank you, man. It's been a lot of fight weeks. That's UFC and boxing, or MMA, shall I say, and boxing. So, yeah, just been good viewing. Whilst weather gets cold, so I'm gonna be indoors more to watch the fights. How you been keeping?
I'm good as well. Do you know what? I said this before the offer. Today's the first time I'm feeling a bit tired. I don't know what it is. It's Tuesday, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, we got
Waiting for Friday already.
Once you hit past Thursday or like midway through Thursday, you're like, okay, cool, but you realize, but you still got Wednesday to go. Talking about something to go, well, upcoming then anyway, let's say. Canelo, Caleb Plant, that's what we're here for. We're here to discuss one of the biggest unification bouts probably of this year. I'll say it's up there with the Josh Taylor fight. Obviously, this has a bit more clout to it. I want to just get your views before we break the fight down. Are you excited for this fight?
I'm excited. Do you know what it is? I'm excited for what everyone thinks is the inevitable. So everyone obviously thinks the inevitable is Canelo is going to become undisputed. However, I do want Caleb Plant to be able to put in a valiant effort I don't like the disrespect that he's been getting, because it's almost like just because you rate Canelo in a certain manner, it doesn't mean you have to put the other fighter down. And I think with Caleb Plant, I just want him to show a good account of himself, just to go in there. He might lose, but lose valiantly. Just like basically make Canelo earn it. And I like the way that Caleb Plant has come into this fight, even at the press conference, of a thing of, I'm not going to back down like most of your opponents do because you're Canelo. I'm going to give you, he's going to give him some pushback. And I think that's the whole reason also why you're seeing this new attitude from Canelo, because I think it's been a long time that someone's giving him that pushback, and you can tell that it rubs him the wrong way. So listen, man, if that brings out the best in Canelo, so be it. But hopefully it also brings out the best out of Plant, and we get to see two guys at the top of their form bring a great undisputed match for the ages.
I think you said something that kind of resonated with me a bit. The attitude of Canelo. This is going to sound a bit controversial, but you see, when he did that press conference, I can't remember who for, and you had Demetrius Andre calling him out for a fight, and he kind of laughed at him like, who are you? Then he said, who are you, MF, and stuff like that. So he was taking it back and forth. But I feel like when someone gives it to Canelo a bit, you do see that little side now. Wait a minute, how are you giving it to me? I'm Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
And I feel like Caleb has been able to do that. And I don't know if you watched the All Access stuff on Showtime. Yeah. If you see Caleb Plant, it's a bit different. Like, he's the story behind him with his daughter passing away, promising to be a champion. There is that thing of, I need to do this. I can't lose.
For sure.
The only thing I will say is, the idea of the inevitable happening, I think I'm still on that side, because we've had it with Billy Joe Saunders, we had it with Callum Smith.
I didn't believe Billy Joe. When Billy Joe was doing it, I didn't believe him. Billy Joe knew. He came across like a doomed guy that's pretending to be up for it. Whereas Caleb Plant, I believe him when he's saying, like, even the way Caleb Plant is talking about all the drug stuff, you can tell that's riled up Canelo. But it's like Caleb Plant is actually, he believes it when he says it. There's some people where they say certain things and it's kind of like, do you believe it? I remember hearing some commentators say regarding Billy Joe coming down the ramp in his fight, like he was dancing. And then they was like, Billy Joe never dances. Like, you're putting up a front right now to make it seem like you are who you're not, type of thing. And even like when they're like, yeah, we got a bigger size ring, and they started taking it as a victory, Canelo was just like, I don't care about all this stuff that some people get bothered about. It's not bothering me. I just want to beat him up. And I think that's what it was with Canelo. It was just like looking at Billy Joe like, I just want to beat him up because you think you are who you're not. Whereas with Caleb Plant, I think Canelo sees it in him like, oh, you really think you can win? So I think that's why the two are different.
It reminds me a bit of, I guess, the Golovkin side of things. Even though that fight on the basis looked a lot more even, because you had the aura of Golovkin versus unbeatable force of Canelo. I think for people who are, I guess, novices or casuals, you don't see Caleb Plant as still a challenger. I guess what I'll go in there, we know Canelo's strengths. In terms of his weaknesses, I've said if you've got a really slick boxer, it can trouble you a bit. When you look at Caleb Plant, what type on his skill set then do you look at what could trouble Canelo?
I'll say if he can implement this, then distance measurement, because he's quite a rangy guy. He's taller than Canelo as well. So I guess it's going to become a case of how useful is your jab, how much you utilize your jab, how much you utilize distance, because that's something that Canelo has shown that he can stifle quite a bit. Like whether it's against Smith or whether against other fighters that he's been shorter than, he's shown that he can cover distance quite well. So I think this match is going to be a lot of Caleb Plant going to be, he's got to be light on his feet, pushing out that jab, making sure he keeps that distance, because we've all seen when Canelo gets up close, whether it's through uppercuts or body shots, he can really rip into the body. So it's going to be a tough fight for Caleb Plant. Like I said, people are going to see it as the inevitable of Canelo winning it. So all we can ask is that Plant puts a spirited effort into that fight and basically gets Canelo's respect, because we saw in the Billy Joe fight what happens if Canelo just doesn't respect you and just starts like going through your punches. And like I said, I watched that Billy Joe fight with Canelo and I didn't
believe it, did you? Yeah.
I didn't believe it, man. Like everyone else was trying to convince themselves. And I feel like Caleb Plant might bring the challenge that people thought Billy Joe would bring Canelo. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think one thing I've seen leading up to the build-up, especially, I guess, a little bit more from Canelo's side, because we know what it will mean for Caleb, is legacy.
Yeah, for sure.
Undisputed champion. I guess from your side of the point, without looking at what Canelo brings, because we know what Canelo is as a fighter. From Canelo's legacy, knowing where he is at, he wins this fight, unifies this division in the short time period he's been there.
Yeah.
How do we grade Canelo? Like we already say it's Canelo's world in boxing and it's everybody else. He wins this, another belt, unification. How do you stop this Mexican monster?
There's a lot of I wouldn't comment on this because I'm not too well versed on Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of older pundits that are saying, listen, we understand that Julio Cesar Senior went through this, long unbeaten run and the amount of wins that he's got. But in regards to Canelo's potentially going to become the first ever undisputed Mexican champion, and the fact that Julio Cesar never became undisputed, and the quality of opponents in a short space of time is like you can't forget, like just under a decade ago, like I remember watching Canelo on TV at uni, thinking, "Oh, this Irish guy's good." Spanish. I'm like, what the? Like a pale ginger Mexican. Like this ain't what's going on. But then I think that's when he was on the rise and beating favorites like Gomez from the Contender Series. Shout out all the people that still remember that from the mid-2000s Contender Series. And then Canelo went on to, he put a lot of vets on his resume, whether it's the Shane Mosleys, the Miguel Cottos of the world, which really hurt my heart because that's my guy. But Canelo really has, even like facing the Austin Trouts and the Laras, even if it could be disputed whether he beat Lara or not, but Canelo's resume is something to really behold, especially on the come up. He fought the best vets, and then he also beat a lot of the best up and coming stars I won't say stars, but up and coming boxers at that time, because Austin Trout was no joke when he beat him. Austin Trout was a top champion when he beat him, and that's like I think soon after Trout had beat Cotto. And then he also beat Lara as well. That was also widely touted at the time. And then obviously, like I said, he beat Mosley as well. Then he also, I'm trying to think, who else did he beat on his way up? Obviously, he had the 2 Triple G fights, which was both disputed, but is on his resume as a win. So, man, if Canelo wins this, I just don't know what the ceiling is for him. Although, if he tries to come up to light heavyweight with someone not named Kovalev, Bivol, I'm not sure how he'll do against Bivol. If he wants to face Beterbiev, he better hope that is a few years down the line and Beterbiev has lost his step of two. I know Beterbiev is fighting at the end of this year, so I don't know.
I think we did actually speak about that previously in the sense of when Canelo could go from super middleweight to light heavyweight and when's the smart move to do. And at this moment, I'm kind of with you. I wouldn't make that move as of yet. But there is one thing I do want to talk about, and it is, I think, let's just go on Caleb plan before I talk about this thing.
Yeah.
Just flip it. We had this conversation with Usyk and Joshua where we expected Joshua to win, but it's in the background. I kind of have a feeling similar with Caleb Plant.
Oh.
I do because I see, when you watch a build-up and you just think there's a possibility, that little bit's in your head.
That's what I was saying. Caleb Plant is like what people thought Billy Joe was going to be.
But what I would say is if he then goes ahead and beats Canelo, how marketable and how big does Caleb Plant automatically become?
The dangerous thing for Caleb Plant in that situation is that if he manages to beat Canelo, his star can only rise if he manages to beat Canelo twice, unfortunately.
Okay.
If he beats Canelo by knockout, then I think it's going to be different because then it'll be like the Holly Holm effect of when she beat Ronda Rousey, where Holly Holm's name is still legendary off of that win. She became champion, but Holly Holm also lost her title after that. But her name still rings bells because it was such a.
Look at that then to say Anthony Ruiz, Joshua in some ways. Joshua lost, got the stardom, but similarly, we all said, can you beat him again? And he couldn't do the job.
But Ruiz stardom wasn't, I can't really call it stardom because unfortunately for Ruiz at the time, it was like going into that fight, a lot of people were already saying stuff about Joshua in terms of he doesn't look all there and everything. And unfortunately for Ruiz as well, he wasn't champion. So it's like, well, I can't tell if people are more celebrating him or more celebrating the shot.
Yeah.
Whereas Caleb Plant is coming into this as a champion. So if he beats Canelo, he gets more shine because it's just like, oh, wow, you're more of a champion than we expected you to be. Whereas Ruiz is just like, you was brought in there to just, be a punching bag for Anthony Joshua. You beat him. But then I also think Caleb Plant also has that thing about him that he's not going to get out of shape. He's not going to let the success go to his head if he beats Canelo. He knows the rematch clause is in there. So you have to go in there. And if he wins by decision, unfortunately, people aren't going to give him his credit. Unless it's an absolutely wide, unless it's absolute shutout like it was AJ
9-3 or something ridiculous where you can't. I get that, yeah.
It's a lose-lose. I won't say lose-lose, but like I said, the only way for Caleb Plant to really get his respect is to knock out Canelo, and unfortunately, I can't see that happening. If he was to pick apart Canelo, he'll get his just dues, but he won't get it as much as he deserves, unfortunately.
I understand that. The only thing is, I would be surprised if Canelo loses a fight on decision. I think if anything,
that too.
The knockout seems more probable than the decision because of where we are. Canelo's boxing right now. One thing I want to touch on before we obviously just look at what just happened over the weekend. Is I've got this thing about boxing divisions.
Yeah.
Do you see the way the UFC is? You have a certain amount of divisions. Yes, the weight class are different. Because I say it to my brothers, like, 140 is welterweight, 147 is welterweight. That's like our flyweight and lightweight.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I can see what they mean because you see, like how we've just said, Canelo in his career, 4-division world champion, Pacquiao 8-division. You see other fighters go up unless you're at a certain light heavyweight or heavyweight. If you start at flyweight throughout your career, I expect you probably to progress because it's harder to cut weight and easier.
Like 4 or 5 pounds difference, yeah.
Yeah. Is there too many divisions in boxing?
Absolutely. However, boxing is so stuck in its ways that there's no going back. This is literally decades upon decades of all these divisions, added with the fact that you got all these like governing boards that are corrupt as it is anyway. I think it was only the other day that WBA finally wiped out all like that regular title and super title and this, that, and now it's like there's going to be one title. So there's a lot of clearing up stuff that needs to happen in boxing, and without there being one governing board as well, it's very hard to clear things up and then also like tidy up the divisions, because certain divisions is like the jump is so minuscule that it's just like, why is the next division
And my
that
second point
similar?
then is on that when you see someone who is, let's say, 5 division world champion, yes, they become divisional champions, but if you win, then you just leave the belt, you move up. Are you actually devaluing yourself as a champion? I'm not saying that you don't hold the value, but is it devalued a bit to say, okay, I'm 24, I've had 15 fights, I'm a 2 division world champion. I'm looking at someone like a Shakur Stevenson. I know we're meant to be doing a preview.
I don't think it's devaluing. I think it also depends on what weight class it is, because people are biased. A lot of the lighter weight class divisions, for whatever reason, people don't give it the love that it deserves. Obviously, now I think it changed a lot when you had the four kings, so Sugar Ray, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Durant, Tommy Hearn. They changed it because they made people look at welterweights. Then it started to die down again. Obviously, heavyweights are always going to be heavyweights. And then Mayweather also brought back the shine to welterweights again. So now I feel like welterweight is a rarity in this. That is the welterweight in boxing is a rarity in that it's a lighter weight class that people, for whatever reason, will always have their eyes on it. But yeah, the lighter weight classes like Shakur Stevenson, I think he's at what? Super featherweight?
Yeah.
Super featherweight. And then when he was at featherweight, no one really batted an eyelid. They like Shakur, don't get me wrong. By that division, it's not really
nothing
big
there,
in name. The reason why super featherweight is kind of like getting some traction now is because Oscar Valdez from Canelo's, stablemate, he's also got kind of a big name. And because obviously when you're a Mexican boxer, if you're a top Mexican boxer, you know those fans, you got to give them,
they get
very diehard, So I feel like the shine comes with what division you dominated. Unfortunately for some, but that's just the way it is.
And just on that then, in terms of just boxing divisions and stuff, I want to go back to what this episode was like. That was a bit of sidetrack because it just got me thinking about Canelo. And he's a 4-time world champion, but I think there's a mainstay with Canelo.
He still had to go, don't get me wrong, he still had to cut weight and make those divisions. So you got to give him credit where it's due.
You do, but I just think now he's solidified it. Whereas I was looking at other fighters, as much as we appreciate them, when they start at a smaller division, the only way is up, really.
Yeah, for sure.
I do want to get your prediction on this fight. Where do you see it going?
I would hope for it to be a decision, because I like Caleb Plant. I'd want him to survive, it sounds so bad even just saying I want him to survive, but that's where the evidence points us to. But I see it as late Canelo stoppage. But like I said, I hope that Caleb Plant gives a good account of himself and, can give Canelo some trouble, because I think people give Canelo's power so much credit that they don't always give him credit for his boxing IQ and his adjustments. So I think it'd be a late stoppage, but if it was up to me, I think my head is saying late stoppage. My heart is saying I hope that is a decision, but Caleb Plant gets some solid rounds in and can put a good account of himself.
So you're going late stoppage. I'm kind of with you on the late stoppage. I just think the way Canelo has been boxing recently, he tends to take it at least 6 or 7 and then push and try to get stoppage. But with that being said, we do now need to know you guys' thoughts. So start off with, if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe. It's the way in YouTube channel. Want to know your comments. We want to know your opinions. Follow us on all our socials: Instagram _the weigh in _ Twitter the same _ the weigh in _ Let us know what you think. How will Canelo go into this fight? Will Caleb Plant cause the upset? And most importantly, how will this fight end? Now, you did talk to me just a bit off air that you want to talk about a specific fight that happened over the weekend. So I'm going to give the floor to you, Ray, before we wrap up.
Welterweights, be on alert. Jaron Boots Ennis is coming to claim stake in that division. And my goodness, what a victory over Thomas Delorme. I hope I said his name correct. In the first round, the way he stopped him, the technique, the footwork, the precision punching. This guy is a talent. I believe he's only in his mid-20s. He called out Errol Spence after his fight. I know that he's not tied to any promotion at the moment, so hopefully that allows him to jump between different promotions and fights for the belt, because listen, this guy is pointing his finger in everyone's chest and saying, I'm the best, prove me wrong. And my goodness, what a talent this guy is. So Jaron Boots Ennis, if you haven't seen it, go watch his fight. Well, it's only one round, but what a finish it is. And listen, with Crawford and versus Porter coming up and Crawford getting up in age, one, we need to see Crawford against Spence ASAP. I believe this is Crawford's last fight on the top rank. So hopefully, if it's a case of Crawford needs to sign with PBC to make that fight happen, then Crawford is not getting any younger. They need to make that fight happen.
A 2-fight deal and get it done. Sign a 2-fight deal, get it done.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, and then Ennis is the next generation. So I don't know how much longer these lot can run away from him. I'm not too sure where he is in terms of belt rankings. I know he also wanted to fight Ugas as well, but Ugas, unfortunately, is now being forced to fight his mandatory in the WBA, because I know that Errol Spence was calling for that fight. Ugas also wanted that unification, but boxing politics comes in again when Ugas isn't the big name to be telling, sometimes there's fighters that can tell the governing board, like, listen, tell that mandatory to take, step aside money and let me face the big unification fight. But unfortunately, Ugas isn't that guy, so he does have to fight a mandatory. I think he's got to fight 2 mandatories. Yeah, I think they're doing like a 4-man tournament, which is that's what I was talking about earlier on. The governing bodies are just a whole mess. So he's got to do that. Obviously, Errol Spence is out at the moment. I believe he's got the WB. No, he's got the IBS and IBF and WBC. But obviously, he's had the unfortunate eye injury, and I hope that he gets to recover quickly, because that's not even a horrible injury for boxing. That's a horrible injury to everyday life. So yeah, hopefully he gets the healing, and then the welterweight division can finally become unified and they can be a king on top of it. Like I said, Crawford is facing Porter, last fight on his top ranked deal. So hopefully Crawford goes out with a bang. I think I see him winning by a late stoppage as well in that fight, even though Porter's got that dog in him. He won't say die, but Crawford might just put him down. So we'll see.
On Crawford and Porter, we will talk about that in a lot more detail. But
Ennis is coming for all of them.
There you have it. We will clip this up at one point, and we will put this. If this happens, you've got just remember. What did we say about who was it that we were saying you should do a theme song? Was it? I'm guessing it was Canelo. I want to say the Bad Bunny thing or something. I can't remember what we.
Oh yeah.
It didn't happen, but this could definitely happen. If it does, well, we know we've got a year first.
Listen, you never listen. I think I'm surprised. Was it Bad Bunny that did the Canelo's last entrance?
I can't remember who did it, but
was it Bad Bunny or Ozuna?
Ozuna probably would have been. I don't think it would have been Bad Bunny.
I'm not too sure, but one of them are going to make a song about Canelo anyway, because once he becomes undisputed, why not? But
look, there's a song about Booker T, so why not do Canelo?
Yeah, exactly, man. Even though shout out Booker T, the 5-time.
Oh, you actually got all 5 in.
WCW World Champion. That's the OG right there. But yeah, sorry for that side note.
With that, we are going to wrap up again. Ray, I appreciate you for coming on.
Love
Again,
as always.
as always, guys, you know exactly what to do. If you're liking all the content, just like, share, subscribe. As Ray says, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. The YouTube page is The Way In. Follow us on our socials, _The Way In _ on Instagram and on Twitter. Until next time, Ray, appreciate you for coming on. Speak soon and peace out.
People. Take care.